post that I just like randomly snapped a photo of, it'll get like so many views and get so much engagement, and I'm just like questioning, what do people actually want to see on this platform?
Hello, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ardis.
Nice to meet you. So Ardis, we were looking at your Instagram. We may have been stalking it online.
A couple of times.
Oh, thank you.
And we were just amazed by like absolutely everything about your feed and your aesthetic, and like Instagram, it takes it to another level where it just everything looks so perfect.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yes, thank you.
So we would like to ask you, why did you decide to make a studygram?
Okay, so this actually takes, I'm going to take you guys back to around when COVID actually just started, kind of. I had a lot of time on my hands at home, like every average student, I feel. So I was taking some notes for my science class, actually, and I just got the brilliant idea, not that brilliant, not that original, but I was like, perhaps sharing these could provide myself and others some source of motivation in terms of their studies, especially during this COVID lockdown time where people's motivation levels are probably rather low. So I was like, let's just start posting some photos and see where it takes us. It was a pretty casual hobby when I first started off, for sure. So
Yeah, so you started around COVID time, I'm guessing 2020?
yes, that would be correct. 2020, yes. It was very informal at that time. I didn't really put a lot of effort into it. It was more of a spontaneous sort of here and there sort of hobby, yeah.
Wow. You should be really proud of yourself.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, yeah, I was looking at the first post on your account, and it said 2020, and I was like, oh, this is a COVID. This was born in COVID, like I know.
It was.
Where did you learn to letter?
Ooh, okay. I'm actually self-taught, if that makes any sense. I kind of just watched YouTube videos and looked for inspiration on social media, Pinterest, things like that, and just kind of developed my own style of lettering over time. So that's kind of how I learned. I printed some templates and followed them. It was a pretty casual process as well, just like the starting of my account. It's all very hobby-based, yeah.
No, definitely. I get that that hobby aspect of it, because I used to letter too. And so I was wondering if you came across any lettering challenges online, you know, in the lettering community on Instagram, if you're like familiar with it.
Yes, I think I've seen quite a few different challenges. There were a few trends going on, I think, in like 2021 that were really popular. I never really jumped on any of those trends because at that point I wasn't that dedicated to my account, to my platform. It was very inconsistent at that point, so it was something that I came across but never really participated in. But looking back, I really should have participated in them. They are very interesting, for sure.
So was your initial goal start a study kind of guide for others, or was it just like lettering based content?
Yeah, I think at the beginning I didn't really have an ultimate goal or purpose that was super clear. I just had the idea to perhaps motivate some other people and perhaps motivate myself in the process of it. Although I didn't actually really post that many lettering related things at the beginning, since that was also when I started lettering, and my lettering really was at a questionable level at that time. It was definitely very new to me at that point in time, so I actually didn't really focus on sharing that aspect of my passions.
No, I love the fact that you know, first of all, you're talking about it like so honestly, and you talk about your spontaneity, and you were just posting and having fun with it, right? That was the main part. But you also took advantage of the excessive time that we had due to COVID, you know, when there were people like not doing anything.
Yeah.
You decided to turn that around and use that as an opportunity to enhance your skills, and I love that, because the pandemic, it ended up doing something really beneficial for you instead.
That's for sure, yeah. Thank you for those kind words.
I have a question. Do you primarily post the things that you study for school, or do you also include self-education?
That's a really excellent question, because I think my account is really a pretty balanced combination of the two, because I do post a lot of notes and studying processes related to school, right? Just because that's my main source of learning. But as you guys may or may not know, I also really love language learning. That's a big part of my account as well. So a lot of the content that I post is also based on language learning and the learning of cultures around the world. So that's also another component of my learning, and I want to share that as well. So to motivate people to also pursue education on your own, since I think that's important.
Yeah, that's great. And I also saw on your account that you share not only like study tips and language tips, but also some tips on mental health, and
Yes.
which I think you might really value, because I saw your reels and they were so inspiring. Telling yourself
you.
to kind of, take your time and just. Yeah, and how did that relate to you? Did it kind of come to you during pandemic, or did you over the years come to it while being a senior student?
Yeah, I think the main source of motivation that made me really bring mental health into my platform as well is just the fact that I feel like student life these days, there's this culture where everything has to be super busy, you're always on the go, you're always busy, you're studying all the time, you're never going to sleep. And I just really wanted to use my little platform as a way to sort of start dismantling this narrative that you have to be always hustling and always on the go in order to be a successful student, because that's just not the truth. You don't need to do those things, and in fact you do have to prioritize your mental health, your well-being, in order to be the best version of yourself, right? So I think it's important to highlight that while talking about studying and student life, so people don't get the wrong message, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that, how you not only encourage kind of studying, but also kind of take time to spread awareness for others as well.
Thank you.
Especially students.
Yes.
No, I see that theme present in all of your content. It's not just that. It's your honesty, and you're not afraid to talk about things even if people are against them. For example, I came across a post where you said that sometimes note-taking can actually be really beneficial, even though it might not be active recall per se.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But you said that, hey, at the end of the day, what works for you may be different and may not always be what is optimized. Again, what hustle culture always promotes is just a certain narrative, and
Exactly.
you're kind of balancing it so that you include a little bit of that, but also your own input.
Yes, I think it's important for me as someone who's talking about studying to promote the idea that there's no right or wrong way to study, even if there's something that social media is telling you to do, such as active recall, like you mentioned, is a popular method. It is a great method, obviously, right? But not everyone is going to benefit from that the same way as every single person. So I think it's important to address that and just make it known to people and reassure people that just because you're not doing that, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong per se. Yeah.
Just to add on to that, I think we're really big on this podcast. We're super big on self-education and just promoting different ways to learn. It's not just school and it's not just self-education. You have to incorporate both of them into your life. There are so many different ways to learn, and sometimes that might require you to step out of traditional or conventional boundaries of learning.
Absolutely.
One thing I noticed over your Instagram is that you keep a consistency in your work, which is
Not
so
right now.
admirable. It's so okay. It's it's the end of the year, which is understandable. Sometimes we have our ups and downs.
Exactly.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, you reached this goal, and I'm guessing consistency plays a big role in that.
Yes.
So how did you kind of get yourself to, discipline or time management? Because we really need a lot of tips from them.
I need to know this.
Okay, I think there's less juicy tips and pieces of advice behind this than most people think. I think it's just when you find something that you really like and you're passionate about, you're naturally more inclined to just get with it and get on with it and just keep going with it. It's a lot easier when it's something that you truly enjoy doing. So I think it's just important for you to value the content that you're actually putting out there, because at that stage, you also are benefiting from what you're putting out. Not that that has to be the case, but it is very helpful. So I think the best thing you can do is just to develop a routine and not really overwhelm yourself. For example, posting every day just didn't work for me. I would get burned out so fast, and then I'd go on like 3 weeks without posting. So I found a rhythm where I would post around every other day-ish, and that really worked for me since I did not burn out my creative side, and I was able to actually keep up with that habit. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a great answer. And honestly, I find building a routine is very important in any work you do. But the hard part is to like actually do that and like get onto the routine and you know do it consistently, which I think you did a great job, and you're still doing great.
Thank you.
So, speaking of Instagram, we were wondering, and this is a question I think a lot of people want to know. Yeah, it's something that boggles my own mind. Which one has worked out for you better, Reels or Instagram posts?
Oh my goodness. I have so much to say about this. I feel like I've been waiting my past 3 years for people to ask me this question because I just have so much to say about this. I started, Reels weren't the primary way to get engagement, to get reach. So I mean, and my posts, naturally, they're more grid-based rather than Reels. So yeah, that was my source to, I guess, growth on that platform, and it reached more people. And I still haven't solved this Reel algorithm thing. I don't have it figured out, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Reels, I don't know how to make it work right now. Everyone's like, you need to post Reels to grow, you need to post Reels to reach people. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a try, let's finally give into this Reels thing. And I start posting them, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't working. Something's not right here, right? So I still typically go with just grid posts, like non-video style posts. That's what has worked best for me. Reels, they don't seem to like me very much, and I guess it's a mutual relationship at this point. But that'll be something I need to figure out as time progresses, since Reels are dominating the platform right now.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yes.
So, when this happened, did these changes affect you in any way?
Yes, definitely. When Reels started becoming a lot more popular, and that was like, I guess, the epitome of Instagram at a certain point in time recently, that definitely took away from engagement and reach. And although we like to say that the numbers don't matter, we don't care, we're just doing it because we like it. To some degree, the numbers are always in the back of your mind as someone who is putting out content. You're never motivated when you see that your post is like not even showing up to half of your followers, for example, right? So Reels definitely, I guess, took away from the engagement and reach that you would normally get from static posts. Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth behind, I guess, the success of Reels on Instagram.
And then it also takes away from like your, I guess, sort of your interest in making the content. Like you weren't doing Reels initially, and your photos are so beautiful and perfectly curated, and that's what I love about them. Like, it doesn't create a false reality the way that Instagram does things. It's like, it's your actual notes, and it's part of the aesthetic, right? That's the photos. With the videos, you can't really achieve the same.
Yeah, I think, and there's just in my niche, I think there is a limited amount of like variations you can put out creatively with Reels, so the options are more limited, and I'm just kind of bad at filming Reels at this stage. I need to improve those skills in order to keep my platform like reaching people, right? But Reels definitely harder to make in this specific niche, and it's like a lot of the possibilities are so not overdone, but they are so popularized in the study community that it's not necessarily original once you do it again. And I want to like try to produce original content as much as possible, so that is a challenge that the whole Reels overtaking of Instagram has presented.
overall originality is very kind of tough topic.
It is.
Because nowadays, if we look at fashion, the old eras just come back.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really new. It's just like taking the old thing and kind of adding on to it, which is I think many people use for. But yeah, you're right. It's tough, but you got it. I believe you got it.
Thank you.
I literally switched my niche, like from lettering and study content to something else because it was just so limited, and I wasn't able to expand on it as much.
Yeah. I definitely relate to you there. I'm definitely thinking of not necessarily switching my niche, but like I guess expanding it, if that makes any sense. So maybe not restricting it to just student life and study content, because it is kind of hard to work around this very limited and narrow niche when reels are dominating the platform right now. So there's definitely some sort of change that I'm going to be making. Not that drastic, but...
Can we ask what kind of change, or just a hint?
I think definitely, since I'm also going to university next year, right? I think I'm going to focus a lot more on like lifestyle in general, not necessarily just student life, studying and that aspect of life, but just life in general, like my other hobbies, fitness, and just the other areas of life that are also very valuable and worth talking about on social media.
Yes. That's amazing.
Okay, we're gonna switch the gears over here a little bit, and then we're also gonna ask you questions that you don't have to answer. Feel free to
pass.
Yeah. If it's something that you don't feel comfortable sharing. So we want to kind of get into the business side of Instagram and opportunities available online. So looking at her posts, like her handwriting is literally a stylish font.
I know. So I actually took a class with you, and literally when we were taking notes off of slides and PowerPoints, her writing was absolutely incredible. Even her messy writing is just it's just my perfect writing, I don't know how you do that. It's absolutely same as your Instagram. Your posts, and I'm in love with your writing and your handwriting.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, looking at your posts, your handwriting literally looks like a stylish computer font.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that a lot.
So, I was wondering if you've ever tried to convert it into a font and potentially sell that.
Yeah, so a bit of a backstory with this. I've actually tried to make a font quite a few times, and we have the font made, we have it ready to go, but it won't open in font book on my computer. So I can't really export the font, and I hope in the future, probably in the summer, when I have more time on my hands, I can figure out how that functions and I can get a working font that I can share with people so that people can also use it if they want to for when they're doing their notes or whatever business that they're up to. So hopefully Fontbook will allow me to smoothly create this font soon. Yes.
And then we can have your rating.
So I think that also highlights something else about you, given that you're a creator, right? So I understand that you spend a lot of time and energy on creating content, and then on top of that, if you were to expand and start your own business, you'd then have even more work to do. Plus, on top of that, you're a student.
Yes.
How do you find the time to manage everything that you're doing?
I think currently without the more business side of it, it is pretty manageable because after all, it is something I enjoy doing. I truly find fun in creating this content, right? So although it is time consuming, I'm not gonna lie, but it is not to the point where I cannot manage school and everything along with it. So I think it's just having a schedule where you can clearly see what you have to get done in a given time. That really helps keep me on track and not get get drowned in the monstrosities of work that I have to get done. So yeah, scheduling is always my best friend.
Absolutely. I totally get it. It's just the time, and I know that you might, again, with the font, you have this idea, you literally created it, but you just don't have the time or the means to try it out on your own. That just, shows that also shows that you like have to do everything on yourself, and just how many skills you're learning at once. Like, do you want to talk about like some of the things that you've already like learned how to do just through running an Instagram account?
Yeah, I think public relations and interacting with an audience is like a very valuable skill that I've started to develop through my social media journey. I think just constantly being engaged with people and constantly trying to put content that is like catered towards a specific audience really enhanced my communication skills and also creativity skills, right? But I think with this process also comes a lot of like valuable lessons that you learn. So it's always important to just really do what you actually like, despite what the algorithm or what other people on social media is telling you to do or implying that this is what you should be doing, such as like the algorithm, right? That's something that you just have to really stay true to what you want to put out and actually follow through with that. So I think that's what's important when you're navigating social media, and I've learned that through my little bit of experience with social media for sure.
And I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, do you have like a specific time that you are kind of trying to post your posts, or do you just like set a date and that is like you just go with the flow?
In terms of like dates of the week, I kind of just go every other day, right? When I'm posting, and the time of day, although you know how on Instagram there is like a time where they say your viewers are the most active. For me, it's not true. I'm pretty sure. I think it's not exactly the truth, because every time I post at those recommended times, my reach is way lower.
Oh.
So I actually kind of do the opposite of what my insights tells me to do. I usually end up posting just in the afternoon after school when I'm at home. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna relax now. Let's just press post. So insights, you're not my best friend when it comes to telling me what time to post.
It's so funny because I do this exact same thing as
right?
you. It's like and you know what? Like the post that you when you come back after school and you've like given yourself an hour to like relax and then you post it, it actually ends up doing better. I don't know about
totally.
Does
Absolutely.
I don't know why.
And especially the posts when you don't expect it. So I personally have like a couple posts, let's say 2, and I like one better than the other. And so I expect it to kind of work better, but then there's another post that I post which is like absolutely ridiculous and doesn't relate to anything.
Oh my gosh,
and it just does so much better than what I actually put my time and skills into.
There's a lot of truth to that, because sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm really proud of this post that I came to create, and I'm excited for people to see it, and the algorithm's like, we're gonna show this to like 20% of your viewers, but then some post that I just like randomly snapped a photo of, it'll get like so many views and get so much engagement, and I'm just like questioning, what do people actually want to see on this platform? What does the algorithm actually like on this platform? But
like,
trying to not get drowned into that, but...
Well, I guess it kind of also gives us a sense of how to like not overthink and just like, just go with whatever you like and don't like put pressure on yourself and just, I guess it comes whenever you don't expect it, which is, I think it's good.
Yes.
The less surprises.
For sure.
I think this raises a really important point about something else you may have experienced. Excessive niching down online to the point where you feel like you're so you're forced to like post in a very specific box of content that you just can't seem to like get out of. So I think it just goes to show that sometimes when you step out of that, it might actually be beneficial. It might be beneficial to like not niche down sometimes.
Absolutely. I think when you narrow down your niche too much, that really limits a lot of options and different opportunities that you could get while you don't like limit your niche as extensively. So I definitely think like I'm a prime example of that. I think since studying is like the study community and all that stuff, that's my niche essentially. But recently you can see that it doesn't always benefit you to have such a specific niche, which is why I am interested in kind of like branching out and expanding my niche. just because specific niches aren't the way to go right now, just with the algorithm. And we like to say that we don't care about the algorithm, like I mentioned earlier, but to some degree we always do, and we want our content to be on the good side of the algorithm, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's okay to normalize like always like being aware of the algorithm, because we all are. Like, why are we pretending to not be?
Right, like so many creators on social media kind of like neglect that aspect. It's like, oh no, the main tip is just to not care about the numbers, and I just did this because I love it and that's how I grew. Like, yeah, there is like a degree of truth to that, but that's like a very limited perspective on the whole issue, just because the algorithm is there and it is affecting every action that you take on social media, essentially. So yeah, we need to start addressing that and not pretend like it doesn't have any effect on creators at all, because it does.
Absolutely, yeah. So before we jump into the more business side, and again, like if you don't feel comfortable sharing something, then feel free to opt out of it or give it a pass. But before that, do you guys have anything else you want to add in?
Actually, I have one more question.
Yes.
Have you ever dealt with hate comments, or how do you deal with them if you do?
That's a good question. That's a thought-provoking question. To be honest, I think my audience, the people that I've been reaching, have, like, I would say 99.9% have been really kind and really supportive, just positive people. I definitely can think back to, like, maybe one or two times where I did receive, like, a comment that's not ideal. I can't really think back to the exact comment that they say, since I think it's important to just not let that get to you.
Absolutely.
But yes, that has happened, and I think it's not really a reflection of your content or who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
People will always talk good and bad about you if you have a presence on social media that reaches such a wide range of people, right? So I think it's just important to recognize that and let it be a part of the process, but don't let it have such a negative effect on you. And it's easier said than done, obviously, but thankfully I haven't encountered a lot of experiences like that.
That's great.
Yes.
You're very lucky. And also, how do you like differentiate hate comments from criticism? Because I feel like, that is a very sensitive topic to me as well.
Yes.
Sometimes it is hard, but sometimes you just don't know the intention of the other person.
Yes. Especially since when it's written as text, you can't really detect their tone or their true intentions behind the comment, right? But I think when I read something and I see that I can take something helpful away from it, then I view that as like constructive criticism. But if it's something that like reading it literally does not serve me any sort of benefit, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably just someone who's having a bad day or whatever and just left such a strange comment like that. So I think if it's constructive in some way, even not in a conventional way, I think it can be taken as constructive criticism for sure.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
So you can I like the part about like the non-conventionality, because there's so many different ways people express their opinions, so sometimes you have to take it as it is and then extract what you can from it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Hello guys. We're back in different outfits, obviously. Yes. Because we had a bit of an intermission. So, as we were saying, Ardis, if you do not feel comfortable talking about the business side, then feel free to opt out of anything. But we're just going to ask you some questions in case you're cool with it. So, I was wondering, besides the font, have you ever gotten any emails from brand collabs? Brand collaboration emails, brands, anything like that?
Right, yes. There's been a few instances of it. I think the first one that I can think back to, it's pretty notable since it was the first time someone actually formally wanted to collaborate, so it was very notable. It was actually a planner creator, so this girl had her own planner business and was interested in seeing if I was open to testing one of her planners and kind of promoting it if I had good feelings about it. So that was a very positive experience I had, and there have been a few other ones as well. I haven't like agreed to every single one that not that there has been like so many or anything, but just because navigating your own schedule on top of social media, there's some sort of balance that needs to happen. So I wish I could like do as many as I want, but sometimes like time is a limit that restrains you from doing that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, I don't know about you. Wait, have you put your email in your bio, or like how do brands usually reach out to you?
Right. I actually didn't, just because I didn't know how consistent I could actually be with checking my email and then staying so consistent with another aspect related to social media. So I have a note in my bio just saying DM for any inquiries, business inquiries or collaborations, and usually people will contact me through that method, and if they want further information, I'll provide them with an email, because I have a mental note where I'll actually check the email and not end up forgetting and leaving people hanging. So that's usually how I navigate the collaborations and such. Yeah.
Oh, that's actually really smart, because I feel like, one, it prevents spam, because there are a lot of people, what they do is they get your email and then they just they use it for their own means, and they send you all these random emails to your business email, and that sucks. And then also like the partnerships that you do get are then quality ones, right? It's not just someone randomly doing influencer marketing. Like, you're actually getting emails from people who genuinely want to collaborate with you, right?
Exactly, yes, for sure. It's a way to kind of filter out like actual business inquiries from, I don't know, potential just random content getting sent from unrelated matters, right? It's a good filter.
It really is. The reason why I'm asking this is because, like, you're still in high school, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, like, when you started that the account, you were in grade 10?
I was in grade 9, actually, when I just started. It was, near the end of grade 9. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, obviously you might not have been getting collaboration requests at that time, but just the fact that, like, do you ever find it difficult to navigate through that, using all that business lingo and speaking in a professional register and with adults, because at the end of the day, it's adults on the other side of the screen, right?
Right. I think the formality side of it, I haven't found it to be that big of a challenge, just because so much communication that I have done throughout my life is with adults, so I've grown like accustomed to a more, I guess, formal approach in networking and talking to people in general, regardless of their age. So that part is actually, it came more naturally, to be honest, since I was used to it. But I think it was difficult to navigate, like, okay, this is a business that I'm talking to, how do I change my tone and, I guess, my writing style accordingly to make it, I guess, business formal, not necessarily just formal, since the way you talk to a company is kind of different than the way you talk to a person, if that makes any sense. So there's that small distinction that I'm still not used to entirely, since it's not like I've done a billion collabs with people. That I've only done very few, so that's definitely kind of a thing to get used to over time.
Do you ever feel like age makes a difference? Do you ever feel like you're too young, or has anybody ever told you that?
I don't think anyone has actually mentioned anything related to age, at least for me. Other people might have different experiences, obviously, right? But I think it is kind of awkward at times when you think about, it's like, okay, I'm communicating with like a brand, and these are probably, like you said previously, adults, and that dynamic can be a little bit awkward at first, but then at the end of the day, you're communicating with someone behind the screen. They're a person just like you, right? Even though they might be older and stuff, you just be respectful and kind and, I guess, helpful, and that's pretty much all you can do, right? So just presenting yourself in a polite and kind way, I think, is the best thing that you can do. So
I think that's really good advice, because for someone like me, I've like experienced so much, I don't think imposter syndrome is the right word, but I've always felt this like ageism, like, oh, I'm too young, or I'm a minor and I don't know anything, or I'm still in high school, so
right.
like, I don't know how to communicate with people, I'm gonna say the wrong thing and make the wrong move.
Oh no, that's totally relatable still, yeah, for sure.
Speaking of networking, have you ever had the opportunity to meet other creators within your niche, online or offline?
Yes. Okay, so in person, unfortunately, I have not had any opportunities to actually like meet people face to face. Although I would love to, if that opportunity comes up in the future. That's something I'm definitely interested in looking into. But I've definitely met a lot of like amazing people. These people are absolutely brilliant, just so kind and welcoming in the roughly the study community. I'm not going to say they're all specifically in the study community. It could be a bit more perhaps into like lifestyle or like student life, lettering, journaling, things like that, right? In like a similar niche, let's just say that, right? So a lot of these people were very welcoming when I first came into the community, and I've built some really valuable relationships with these people, even though I've never really met them. But this really just showed me how you don't really have to actually meet a person to create some sort of valuable relationship. I was really surprised because previously I was like, I don't know these people, but like look at where we are now, right? Some of these people I'm very comfortable with sharing ideas and just talking, and it's really nice to have someone in the community to be able to share so many experiences with. It's a absolutely wonderful thing, I think. Yeah.
I had one question.
Yes.
Are you planning to expand to more kind of different social platforms, as in YouTube maybe, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Since I've considered this many times, I've actually tried to expand onto TikTok before previously. I just found the algorithm to be so significantly different from YouTube, and the whole concept of it was so video based that I was like, this might not be the best platform for me to share my content on. But now that Instagram is becoming so video heavy and reel based, I'm considering it, but I'm also kind of hesitant towards it just because it is another thing you have to manage on top of the existing social media platform you have. And in terms of YouTube, I think that's something I might be interested in the future, just not right now since I'm barely managing Instagram, let alone another channel where you have to create like longer videos, and there's just a lot of time and preparation that goes behind YouTube.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future or near future, yeah, that's something to consider.
Yeah, it is certainly very hard. I mean, in terms of YouTube,
Yeah.
there's so much work to do, but in the long run, it's, I mean, more beneficial. So in the long term,
Yeah.
YouTube is actually amazing, and I think Lyla can confirm that.
Don't do TikTok. Don't do TikTok. I'm telling you, don't do TikTok. Do YouTube. But also, YouTube is the biggest commitment. Like it's Instagram, YouTube. It's like everything combined together, and you still won't have enough time. Like,
Oh my goodness. See, that's why it's kind of intimidating to I guess take that first step. I guess you kind of solidified my decision in terms of not maybe expanding onto TikTok, but YouTube, like you said, it is a big commitment, more than any other social media platform. Just the whole formatting and structure of it is very different. There's a lot more planning that definitely has to happen. You can't be as spontaneous as with Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok per se. Yeah.
but I think like if you are, it is the most out of all of the platforms. YouTube requires the most amount of work, but it is also the most rewarding. Like.
Absolutely.
Yes, like
Yeah.
even if you have less than 1,000 subscribers online, like you're gonna get a lot of reward from it. And I think if you want to rank it in terms of tiering, you can do
Yeah.
like YouTube #1, then Instagram, and then TikTok's like at the very bottom after Twitter, after everything else. Yeah.
The hierarchy of social media.
So like I think it's a really good decision on your part to make
Yeah.
sure that you're managing your time and
Right.
not this way you won't burn out, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Do you have any advice for our viewers on how to get their first 10,000 followers on Instagram?
That's a great
Ooh.
question.
To be honest, I don't think I am actually the most reliable person to ask this question for, just because I've tried different strategies to grow and reach more audience members, right? But to be honest, none of those strategies really actually functioned for me. None of them actually resulted in significant growth or like a large boost in reach, right? So it just kind of took off naturally. I guess I just started posting consistently, and I don't know, one day it just kind of started to take off, and that's how it just got to where it is now, and that's how I reached like my first 10K followers. there wasn't really some sort of checklist or how to beat the algorithm that a lot of people like to promote, but none of that really worked for me. So I don't really know how or why my platform actually got to grow in such a way.
Do you think it's maybe because of your consistency or your discipline?
I think consistency definitely is a big factor in it. If there's one thing I can say is that you need to be consistent. Posting like very like spontaneously and without a rough schedule at least makes it a lot more difficult just based off of patterns that I've observed on Instagram. But other than that, I think the main thing is just to, one, be consistent, right? And then two, post something that you actually think people will actually be interested to see. Not that that has to be like the main purpose of why you post, but if you're aiming to grow, you kind of have to put yourself in other people's perspective just to see, hey, what are other people perhaps interested in, and how can I perhaps cater my content a little bit in that direction. But obviously you don't want to change your whole platform just because you want to reach more people. So there's a delicate balance between the two, I think. Yeah.
I have a question about
Yes.
post-secondary.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
so what major are you applying to?
Okay, so currently I am applied as a major in, or I guess a degree in arts, so the humanities essentially, social sciences, but more specifically, I do plan to double major once I actually apply for the specific degree that I'm going to be studying, which is hopefully international relations, and I do want to major in Spanish as well, just because my love for languages is immense, and I want to continue my language acquisition journey beyond high school, essentially. So those are the two areas of study that I plan to and hopefully will end up studying. Yeah.
Yeah, we wish you good luck in that, and I'm
Thank
sure
you
that
so
you're going to do
much.
great. And
Thank you.
hopefully manage Instagram, because we are so invested in your profile and your account, and we can't wait to see more, especially your
Thank the font. And
the fonts. Yeah, the fonts.
Yes, hopefully everything will work out nicely that way. Yes.
Also about the languages. Okay, and so like studying a language, I think it requires a lot of discipline as well.
Yes.
Especially because you are doing it with your own will, right? So it's not like a school thing that
No,
you have
yeah.
to do,
Exactly.
which is really impressive. Because I find like self-learners very incredible humans, because they actually did it by themselves. They achieved something. That's a big achievement, to learn a whole new language by yourself. And I think you're just very, very disciplined, person that just like self-improves. That's amazing. I just love it.
And that's the reason why we have you on the podcast today, because
Oh, thank you.
we want people to know that like you can actually achieve these things outside of the classroom, and
Exactly.
totally on your own. Self-education is the next best thing out there
Definitely.
today.
Mm-hmm.
And to steal some of your secrets and learn more about them.
Oh.
So the biggest elephant in the room, how much stationery do you go through in a year?
I feel like I'm gonna really be exposing myself on this one. I think I definitely like toned down on like the buying of stationery. I realized that this was kind of getting out of hand, and let's stop fueling into mass consumerism. Borderline, seriously. But I think I can say in a year that I can go through around 7 to 8 pens usually, and then a lot of lead for mechanical pencils. One eraser maybe that's like about like this big, not too large, but
You don't lose your stuff.
I'm scared to hear the amount of notebooks.
I try to keep my stuff together as much as possible so I don't end up losing them, but sometimes inevitably that does happen, unfortunately. Notebooks, actually right now I'm going through less since I take a lot of iPad notes now, but now that I have math class, I'm kind of scared because I'm like 3 weeks into the semester and I have already consumed like almost a full notebook of just questions and notes, so perhaps this year will break a record with the number of notebooks I end up using this year. Yeah. Overall stationery, I We love it so much, but I'm trying to control the amount that I purchase so that I'm not loading my house with an amount that I'm not even going to finish by the time I finish university.
Absolutely.
But I'm still guilty of getting like 3 new brush pens 2 weeks ago.
How do you manage your, the aesthetics and the visuals, and do you have like a kind of a structure, plan for that?
So every time I have like a specific feed theme, I guess, I do either make a filter on my own or I do adjust a filter based off of someone else's that I really like. Usually it's not the exact same just because I kind of have to match like the color palette so that it's suitable to the to the filter, right? So I think it's just about finding like something that I find, oh, this is pretty to look at. So then I'll use that for a while, and then sometimes the algorithm kicks in and no one sees my posts anymore. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's time for a change. And that's kind of how I just navigate the changing of my, like the visual aspect of my feed. Yeah.
Do you think like it plays a big role in your profile, in your account? Or?
I do think so, since something more cohesive definitely draws more people in, since that's the first thing they see when they see your page. So when it's all kind of coordinated nicely and it all goes together, I think that definitely helps draw an audience. So that's that's the first glance, right? It's like the first impression, very important, yes.
Wait, by filter, do you mean preset?
Yes, essentially it's, I use Lightroom, right? So then I will create, essentially, presets on Lightroom, depending on what I'm in the mood for, I suppose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's another cool skill that you have obtained, right?
Yes.
Using Photoshop and Lightroom and all of these.
Canva.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, so let's end with 2 questions. So, summer or winter?
Ooh, I'm gonna say summer just because there's so much free time where I can do a lot of stuff that I want to do that I can't in the year.
Yeah, same.
Chocolate, strawberry, vanilla?
I think I'll have to go with chocolate.
Chocolate?
I think I'll have to go with chocolate.
Okay, reading or movies?
Reading, 1000%. I'm a reader. I'm a big reader.
Okay.
Make the movies in your mind.
Exactly. Yes.
Staying in or going out?
Oh, stay in, I think. There's just so much that I feel like I could get done when I'm staying in. But I like going out as well, yeah.
Okay. And last one, introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert, 1000%.
Oh.
I think at first glance I'm usually interpreted or perceived as an introvert, but when people get to know me, I'm just such an extrovert. Or even when I don't know people, I think it's just people's first perception of me is usually introvert, but I am actually like super extroverted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing all of your tips and Instagram secrets with us.
Yeah.
Thank
it was
you so
very
much.
inspiring to have you, and we
It
hope
was
to-
a pleasure to be on
Yeah.
here, and thank you so much for inviting me. This was such a great experience. I really appreciate it. It was so fun to film this with you guys. So
She's our first guest, and she's not the last, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and subscribe to Ardis' account down below.
Yes, we'll leave we'll leave Ardis' account in our
Description.
description, so you can go stalk it.
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Stop this girl.